I'm glad I'm survived through unsafe abortion, but I don't think I can live in this society anymore. These words belong to my friend who went through a horrific experience 3 years ago. When she missed her period, she took a pregnancy test and found out she was pregnant. As a 19-year-old unmarried woman, her world turned upside down. There was no way she could have told this to her parents, just like any of us. Don't we all go through relationships, breakups, abuse, sexuality, all by ourselves, all while pretending we don't even know what these words mean in front of our parents? So she turned to the internet for answers. And let's be real, when it comes to medical emergencies, Google is just as helpful as a broken umbrella during a hurricane. All she found was conflicting information. She wanted to go to the doctor, but she was too scared. She didn't know whether abortion was legal, how she was going to explain her condition, or whether she was going to be judged for what she was going through. Desperate for a solution, the only option her confused state of mind could come up with was to swallow a dozen contraceptive pills, which left her bleeding uncontrollably. When she could not handle her situation anymore, she had to involve her parents, who finally dealt with the situation. In India, sexual health is soaked in shame and stigma. We don't have any formal sex education curriculum in schools. Parents hesitate to have these conversations with children. Friends are just as clueless, and we hardly find anything on the internet. I'm sure you can relate to my friend on some level. Can you think of a situation where you had questions or you were stuck in a situation where you needed help, but you could not voice out what you needed? This whole culture of secrecy stops people from having open conversations. Growing up, whenever we are curious, we are fed with misinformation, unanswered questions, so we develop false beliefs. So when we are stuck in a situation, we make poor decisions. And the consequences are either faced by you or others. If we look at the statistics, every second child in India is a victim of sexual abuse. It happens with both girls and boys. And what's even more shocking is that the abusers are mostly known to the kid. India has the third largest HIV epidemic in the world. And every 16 minutes, a rape case is reported, which means 1 by the end of this talk and almost 100 by the end of the day. And these are just the reported cases. We have numerous cases which goes unreported. The list is never ending. We see our newspapers which are filled with such stories every single day. This news is from my hometown, Raipur. And we come across such things almost on a regular basis. And these are not just numbers. Behind every statistic lies a human experience, a struggle and a need for change, a desperate need for change. Yet, we continue to oppose sex ed because of the misconceptions we hold in our minds. One of the most common myths is that sex ed is just about sex. Well, sex ed stands for Comprehensive Sexuality Education, and it is a scientific-based and age-appropriate way of teaching young kids how to take care of their bodies, their health, and their relationships. Apart from the topics like puberty, body image, it covers a whole lot of topics on violence, gender, bodies, pleasure, contraception, safer sexual practices, and along with the information, they are given the skills like how to say no, consent, decision making, so that they know what they are going through. It gives them the language to express their issues. Number second, sex ed is not appropriate for young kids, or it encourages them to have early or risky sexual behavior. Sex ed is not appropriate for kids, and it encourages them to have early or risky sexual behavior. Growing up, we tell our kids that any sex before marriage is bad, while they are constantly exposed to sexual content on Netflix, movies, magazines, and social media. It is very easy for predators to also groom them online. So if I compare sex with driving a car, to oversimplify the concept, just like driving a car is not about staring behind the wheel, pressing the accelerator, and reaching the destination, the driver also needs to know why to stop at a signal, why wearing a seatbelt is important, what to do if there's a flat tire, or what they should do if they meet with an accident. So just like that, children are taught about essential skills. Number third, sex ed is only for girls and women and not for boys and men. For decades and centuries, we have been teaching our daughters and girls that staying safe is your responsibility, while conveniently excluding men from this conversation, saying men will be men. So they grow up with misconceptions like hasi to fasi, uski to naam bhi haan hai, all of these that they gather from movies. So when we exclude one gender altogether from the conversation, they develop a skewed perception of consent, boundaries, and other harmful social and gender norms. So to bridge this gap, with a background in psychology, I was working in Tihar jail and suicide prevention helpline. And I was working with people where I realized that it's easier for them to take away their lives than to vocalize the issues. Because this shame is so much that they have never done it before and they cannot voice it out. We have seen numerous cases where people have committed suicide when it was not even their fault. We see women who have given birth to girls and which was not acceptable, and they believe that it was on to them to decide the gender. We have seen people suffering from sexuality, from abuse, so they go ahead with the extreme decision. At Tihar jail, I was studying the mindset of criminals who commit heinous crimes like rape, sexual offenses, murder, gang rape. What we found common was behind every act of violence, there was a story which was shaped by societal norms, conditions, and a profound lack of education. One inmate who had assaulted a woman admitted that she was asking for it just because she went out drinking with him later in the night. And it was not just him. It was a common belief among all of these offenders that certain behavior by women, such as going late in the night, drinking, wearing red lipstick, even that was considered as an invitation for sexual activity. So when we studied the background of these criminals, we realized that criminals are not born criminals. They are made criminals. Just like a house is built by brick and brick, growing up when they are exposed to certain situations, environments, when we have normalized such notions, they have grown up believing that what they're doing is not wrong. So to bridge this gap, I started Sanvi Speak, which is an AI-driven sexual wellness platform for young people. Just like the name suggests, it's a revolution to help every individual reclaim their power, choice, and sexuality. So here's a quick demo of how it works. It's a one-stop platform which is completely anonymous, and it gives all the solutions. So you can choose any name which you like, because different countries have different laws, so based on your location, your age, your gender, and your needs, this chatbot filters all the data that you need. So you can choose from these suggested questions, or from these different categories of options that we provide. We cover psychological, biological, and legal side of it. So based on your question, it provides medically and legally accurate answers which are being curated by a team of experts. Along with that, you get animated videos to learn more about the topic, products, access to experts who are trained in providing LGBTQ-friendly services, and tons of other resources. Some of the most common questions that we get on May from young people are about their bodies, about their relationships, about their emotions that they go through. We answer thousands of such questions every month from 6+ countries. We are being supported by the World Bank, by the government of South Korea, by MIT Solve, and many other bigger institutes because they realize that this is not just a problem in India, it's the global crisis. But the solution we cannot bring a change until we implement the solution on ground. So empowering individual is just the first step. Our ultimate aim is to normalize the conversation and bring a change in the mindsets of people. So I invite you to think, how can we integrate this into our education system, policy, or even make this a dinner table discussion at home? How can we open small windows, if not doors, so that our children can come and ask us questions without getting judged? How can we open up these conversations to them? Because it's easier to answer their questions today than to solve their problems tomorrow. So with every conversation and every individual empowered, let's strive to create a world where every touch is consensual, every relationship is healthy, and every pregnancy wanted. Thank you.